focus on filmmaking from idea to distribution and everything in between. We focus on you getting your project in the can and for the world to see. Thank you for listening to the Austin Action Fest podcast. Now let's get cracking.
Welcome to the Austin Action Fest and Market 2021. I am Benjamin Nathaniel II, aka the Violence Conductor, and this is my lovely host.
I am Danielle Cavanis Weatherford.
Yes, the Golden Child is what we call her.
The Golden Child.
So we have a very special guest, a part of the Film Fam clan, Mr. Airborne. Ooh, that's a good one. Erik Airborne Bernard. Is that what we're going to call you now?
I'll take it. I've been called worse.
So go ahead and introduce yourself, Erik. Let them know why you're amazing.
Hey, first of all, I'm always excited to support, my colleague Ben and Danielle. And I'm just a filmmaker and producer inside the Georgetown, Austin area. And I'm always looking to collaborate. And the reason why I'm awesome is because my friends are awesome. Benjamin came out and helped me out, my fight coordinator, during the snowpocalypse in Texas. And we came through with something special. So, I'm here to support him and his platform and hopefully get more filmmakers involved in the mix.
Got it. Awesome. So briefly, for those who do not know you, Erik, tell them a little bit about how you got into film and why you're so passionate about it.
Well, I've always loved, film. I grew up working in the video shop, and I've seen thousands of movies. And as I, went on in my life, you really don't see a path forward if you're not really born into that film culture, that film lifestyle. So I went out for my first career in the military, and after my third tour, I was having trouble with PTSD, and I started writing as an outlet. And I went back to school. I was stationed in Savannah at the time. I went to SCAD Savannah, and I had some great teachers, Michael Nolan and David Engelbach. Were teachers that helped me refine my skills as a screenwriter. They produced Mr. Holland's Opus and Over the Top, Sylvester Stallone at the time of his prime, and they really helped me really cultivate that. And I started writing, and I realized no one likes to read, so I had to learn how to produce if I want to see anything get made. So I went on to start producing film, and I started in reality, and was able to do both scripted and non-scripted. So which gave me two different ways to kind of reach out into the industry and gain some support and gain some assets and some resources to help me support my filmmaking career.
Awesome. And so what are some things? Well, one, I know you're involved with a couple of different companies. Go ahead and let them know who you're working with or what you run right now.
Well, domestically, me and my wife, we run Rebel 6 Films, which is like our local company that we produce films with for Texas. And we also have TLG Motion Pictures. We're based in Seattle, and that's the flagship, so to speak. And I run the Austin office out of Austin, Texas.
Fantastic.
I don't have any questions yet.
Yeah, okay, cool. So we're gonna get into it because this is called filmmaking and producing during the pandemic, which is also like the adversity, I guess, is what you really want to call it. So tell us about the new project. A brief synopsis of what you made in Texas, and then we're going to talk about the chaos.
Okay. So 8 years ago, I wrote a film, Free Dead or Alive, and I wanted to do something to help, support female activism and, just the whole goal of really building strong female characters. I have a daughter and a wife, that I love, and I want to see them kind of represented in a courageous journey. So I wrote Free Dead or Alive about a young woman who refuses to settle, and she battles against all the elements to reach her dreams along the Mexican migrant route. And 8 years later, we got momentum, we got, backing on that, and we went out and decided to film it. And the only window we had to film it was in February, because the locations we had would pick up during spring break, and we wouldn't have the availability. So we filmed starting in end of January all the way through February. And, it was hard. Number one, COVID was still running rampant. We were lucky enough to find an isolated location, which we kept some of the outside contact to a minimum. So we were able to create a bubble, but we still ran over 1,000 COVID tests, during that time, which is super expensive. And then while we were filming, we also ran into some bad weather. This is the big windstorms and snowstorms of February 2021, which were pretty much catastrophic for Texas infrastructure. So we were stranded, no power, no water, in hotels out in Alpine and Terlingua, Texas. And it was a real good test to see how bad you wanted to make this film work. So
Absolutely love it. So it's the pandemic, and then on top of the pandemic, like the only snowstorm Texas like ever had in its history, where grids go down in the middle of it was so ridiculous. I'm not gonna lie though, like I love it personally. I do, because in the sense that like I love doing 48-hour film festivals. You guys ever do any of those? Too many? Well, the reason I say I love it is because after like the first 12 to 15 hours, you start to see people crack in the veneer, right? So it's a pressure test. It's a stress test. Like, how can you keep it together? Everybody can smile and be happy when you're getting paid doing something, or even if it's free for 5 to 10 hours. You get to hour 22, you haven't slept, you haven't taken a break. That is when you start to see inner natures revealed. Yeah. So like I wait to that point. I'm just waiting. I'm like, what, 13 hours in? The magic's about to happen.
See, I didn't know all that went down, and I didn't know all that went down, and so I'm thinking the movie, like a typical movie that has all the different characters, and then one of them they just start to crumble. So wondering, who on the cast and crew they're really one way at the very beginning, then later on you're like, oh man, I didn't know that was even in you, type of thing.
Listen, and I say all the time, in dating, it applies. I think relationships are relationships. I can be whoever you need me to be for 90 to 120 days, depending on the number of contacts we have per day. I can be Prince Charming all day if we need like 60 days. We get to like 90 and 120, and all the other stuff is going to come out. Like, it's just, that's the rule.
Well, is that what happened, Eric? Did you start to see a lot of people's change of personalities, I guess, start to show themselves?
Well, I will say that I was lucky with my actors. My actors were like troopers. They didn't complain once, and I had some really good people in the crew too, like Benjamin right there. I can tell you a funny story. We're filming this big wedding fight scene, and the temperature just dropped, and it's 32 degrees. I have an actress fighting in a wedding dress. I have an actress fighting in a t-shirt and a pair of jeans, and it's freezing. I'm out there directing. I wasn't prepared for this call. I had everything I brought with me on, and my mask had stuck to my face because I had so much snot running down during that. That's how cold it was. And I looked over, and Benjamin's out there with a t-shirt on and a vest, walking around like he's wearing a triple fat goose jacket. And I said, I don't know how he's doing that right now.
Well,
but he was working it.
The part of it was that I feel like I'm from the world of stunts and fighting, right? So a lot of times we're in the most uncomfortable situation on a set. And so I felt a certain way having the actresses out there. Mind you, shout out to Edie Ganem and Patricia Velasquez. If you might know Patricia Velasquez as Anoxia Moon from The Mummy. Shout out to them for being absolute champions. Going through fight choreography, doing all that, it is freezing cold outside. And I was like, if these two young women are going to get out here and make magic happen, I will shiver with them in solidarity. That is what I will do. So that was my offer to like, look, I'm out here in the trenches with you. You're not out here by yourself. So, I don't have as important a job as the director. He needs to be comfortable and focused. I got a little bit. So I was like, I can be out there with y'all.
So you got a mission and the objective, and everybody, you saw he was able to step up to meet that objective.
Yes. Yes. And the stuntmen did very well too. I mean, they just had like suits on, so they weren't very well covered. I mean, it was bad. We're in the desert, so there's some wind and it was cold. It was a lot transpiring on that one, but everybody did a fantastic job. So Erik, in reference to just dealing with COVID, what can you tell us about some of the difficulties with that trying to shoot in Texas? Unless he froze on us.
Did he freeze?
No, I almost did. I'm back. Yeah, so I can tell you a little bit about this is like the second year, I filmed during COVID, and I'll tell you that you got to have some protocols in place. You got to take it seriously. It's not something, you can really, hope that you get lucky because, it'll get you. And the one thing we've been adamant about is just testing before. Everyone gets tested before they come out set, so we know what's going on. We know if someone's been exposed. We know if someone is a risk. So you got to identify that. And there've been like about 3 or 4 times in the last 2 years where we've caught people, they just tested positive, and like they would have came out and pretty much exposed themselves to the whole crew. So, we were fortunate to kind of be very serious about that. And when it comes to hotels and stuff like that, you got to create bubbles with your team. You can't let your team go off and do their own thing. They have to all kind of be a family.
Yeah. One of the things that I found out about staying in hotels, which was interesting, didn't think about it, like room service, right? Normally you have people, turn down cleaning things when you step out, etc. I kept coming back to my room going, nothing has moved in here. That trash is still there. What is that about? But they're not going to come through. So they're following their protocols, and it kind of changed the way we had to do things even in the hotel.
Did you have people because of the freeze and everything like that?
Yeah, I mean, they still
to work. They still were there.
They still had
I guess
people
maybe they
there.
got stuck there too.
Well, that we're going to get to that part too.
Yeah.
So because of COVID, they weren't checking the rooms as frequently, and they would only come in if you asked them to.
Okay.
If you didn't ask for something, they weren't going to do certain things because they're not trying to get infected either and be off work for 2 weeks. So I understand. But in reference to the big freeze that happened, so Erik, we're in the middle of shooting. How did you, because I was in the meeting, it was very inspirational. I was like, wow, this man is like he is not folding under this, because again, right, this is like to me, 40-hour film festival, here's the pressure. How is he going to react? Like, this is my guy. I think he's going to do well. I don't know, but he's a soldier. I think he's going to be good. He's airborne Erik. So let me see. So tell us about how you got through all the days that we had to fix and all this stuff, because we lost power. It wasn't just cold. We didn't have power out there. There's no power in the hotel, etc. So how did you figure that out? How did you get through that?
Froze.
What, he's frozen?
Go.
See the freeze.
Yeah. I know the freeze is still here. I can tell you that it was hard. It was the hardest production I've ever done. I can tell you that hands down. I don't think I'll ever have to work as hard as I did on that one. Just long days, just managing relationships, managing personalities, and that one when the freeze came, it was just the worst. Like some of the crew members wouldn't even look me in the face. They were so angry with me, as if they blamed me for it. And I understood like that they had to have someone. They couldn't blame Mother Nature for like this 30-year snowstorm that just came in. So they were mad at me about it. And some of them pulled me aside. They were very, very direct with me about their frustration. And me, I'm trying to keep the wheels turning on this bus. So I acknowledge that there's some less than desirable conditions that we're operating in, but I have a whole bunch of people that trusted me with their money, so I can't go back to them and say that I'm sorry it got too tough. And one of the things that when you worked as an independent filmmaker and you've chased investors, you've chased money for so long, when someone finally trusts you, you take that serious. It's not like treating the same way. Like I'm not gonna go out here and jeopardize like 10 years worth of savings without a valiant fight. And that's how I approached it. It was one day at a time, and I had to adapt and be agile to make sure that we got the shots. Some of the scenes weren't the way I wrote them, but I had to make concessions and compromises that still, the best choices I had, for that moment, that scene, I had to make them and figure out how to make the best movie I can.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah, that's right.
Well, no, that's awesome. So talk a little bit about you talked about chasing money. Okay. So, and business is one of the things we like to focus on here. Like, so you said, you know, want to make sure that these people trusted you with the money, so you took it very seriously. Because I know some people, they can use a project as a loss leader, and they can afford to, you know, this movie may not do business, but it'll allow me to make another move and, you know, get higher up on the tier or whatever, and the next one will be the thing. So is that your approach, or is your approach like, no, every time you put money in my hand, we're going to do something profitable. I'm going to make that happen. There is no, like, how do you see that part?
Well, I think that if you want to be, you know, your patron and invest in you, you have to really appreciate that and appreciate the moment you've been given, you know, the opportunity. And, you know, you have to make the most of it. You have to make the best product you can. I mean, even to the point to where I'm talking to, you know, writers. I wrote the script, and I have a room of writers. Let's sit together, see what doesn't work. Let's make this better. You know, no ego involved. You know, find people that really want to make the best project. And, you know, if you do that, you know, your probability of making money goes up, and your probability to get the next film goes up.
Yeah.
You know, really, you know, where I've seen people struggle is that people that I've seen get money, they go make a film, they kind of go, you know, if you haven't made a whole bunch of films, you really don't know a lot. You know, it's unfortunate. You know, I'm gonna tell you that that's the God honest truth. And you may bring people together with you, and because you haven't done a lot, you're probably gonna bring people that haven't done a lot. I mean, because, you know, you're waiting because you don't have enough money to buy the big time, the best person in each position. Like Hollywood films, when you look at a studio film, they still have the same problems we have, but guess what? They got the best position, you know, best person in that production designer position. They're going to solve that problem. They got the best person in that first AD position. They're going to help fix that problem. They got the best person in sound. They're going to help overcome that issue with the echo. So it's like they have all these people that help them kind of make a great film. As an independent filmmaker, you don't always have that luxury. You know, you have a crew of people that are like you, hopefully trying to come up, and they're learning too. So, you know, you have to really know what you don't know fast and early before you start. And, you know, that's the only way to make the best film, you know, because as an independent filmmaker, you know, the odds are stacked against you.
No, it makes sense because, like, I know a lot. Every time we've done a production, there's like some cast. This production, like us sitting down here between, well, not between two ferns, so it's between two humans, and then there's a fern. There was like this was a process. There were some things we had to work out because we've never used Filmocracy for live events before. So it was, I'm troubleshooting some things on this side. But that happens every single time. So trying to keep your cool with all that is important. And I was always taught, like, pivot. I just see it's like basketball to me. I'm trying to get down the court. I'm trying to get closer to that net. Post the dude up. He's trying to stop you from moving too. You pivot. You turn this way. You turn that way. Sometimes you don't get to make direct process. Sometimes it's lateral progress or whatever, but you keep on moving. And so what you're saying is that there's a difference between a Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant pivot and shoot the J in your face, and then what I'm going to do out there on the basketball court. Like, you have the higher in your crew is, the better capable they are in getting over the adversity and getting around the situation. It's the same problems. It's the same actor doesn't show up like they're supposed to. It's the same lighting issue or sound issue or whatever, but having a more tight and more agile team is the difference between a low budget indie having problems and a high dollar, you know, multi-million-dollar movie, correct?
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I think that my team was decent on this one. You know, I had a good DP. You know, he was fast to get set up. So, like, we were averaging maybe 15 to 19 setups a day. So, you know, we were flying through there whenever we could. We had some tough scenes where we had delays because of the austere, you know, environment. You know, it took us about like 20 minutes to get people out just from base camp to the set. And, you know, it was tough, you know. So okay, I lost an hour. All right, I have like 45 minutes to shoot this scene. You know, okay, while we're waiting, let's talk about this. I think we set a camera here, and, you know, we get coverage, and then I'll get, you know, a few takes here, and we'll move on. You know, so you really have to start planning, like you said, those pivots. You know, okay, how do I fix it?
Yep.
Got it.
Yeah.
Darren?
Oh, no,
Okay.
I totally agree. You know, a lot of times in previous lives, one of my philosophies was always slow to hire sometimes and quick to pivot or quick to fire. So, I mean, because you don't want to have the mistakes keep going. But if you're in it, you've already got that crew, you've got to be able to pivot so quickly. So you can't necessarily say, I may not have you next time, but this time, this is where we are.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Makes sense. So we're not going to keep you all day, Eric. We're going to get on to one of our crowdfunding for independence panel, which I believe is Seed and Spark. But before you go, is there anything you like to share with, experienced filmmakers, newbie filmmakers, whatever it is, about being ready or prepared? Or is there anything you think like specific, if there was one thing you could advise someone to do right now, one or two things to make sure that they are capable of pivoting and are capable of getting through these difficult times filming, what do you think that is? Like, is it some of pre-production? Is there anything like a nugget of wisdom?
My dog is barking here.
Dog's barking.
Have a pit bull. Yeah. Step one, got it.
Let me close my door. All right. My dog sees somebody out there. I think the best advice I would give is like, don't give up on your dream, and figure out how to help someone else that may be further along than you are, and see if they're willing to help you. And that's probably the best advice I can give is like, because there's a big jump between writing and having a plan, and then you have all these people that are in your cipher that you think are worth this, but you don't know because you never tested them. You have to really get out there and fail fast. Go out there, shoot something. I mean, nowadays, you can buy a camera for $2,000, a movie grade camera. So there's no excuse for you not being able to go out there and film something. The only limitation you have really is going to be lighting, your story, and then, your ability to kind of bring together some energy for post. But, all that stuff, if you film something really good, you can find post houses that jump on board with you, kind of help bring them up, so you can find that. But like to get started, that you have to bring is that energy, that motivation. I need to tell this story. This is important to me. I'm going to fight, do whatever I have to do to kind of, beg, steal, and borrow. And that's really the key. And after you do your first one, you'll get better. But you won't get to your second and third one without a first one. So figure out how to get to your first one.
Got it. Anything else, Danielle?
No. Unless anybody in the audience has any questions.
Anybody have any questions? Since we have Eric here for a few more minutes.
Y'all good? All right. Awesome.
They're stunned by your eloquence and your depth of knowledge, sir. We thank you so much for joining us this year, Eric. And hopefully we'll get you in person next year. We'll see what happens, but we really, really appreciate you. Can you let everybody know where they can find you and follow what you're doing right now?
Hey, my Instagram is EBBuckets. You can follow me there. We also have TLG Motion Pics, which we're going to be making announcements. We have a second trailer that's going to be dropping soon. And we have some behind the scenes work too that you're in the behind the scenes, so we're going to be dropping that too here in a couple of weeks. So, it should be more to follow.
Awesome. Well, thank you everyone who joined us for today. Let's clap for Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you.
Thank you all.
Yes, and stay tuned because in about 10 minutes, we're going to be running crowdfunding for independence with Seed and Spark.
Focus on filmmaking from idea to distribution and everything in between. We focus on you getting your project in the can and for the world to see. Thank you for listening to the Austin Action Fest podcast.